I'm Max Lopez. This is the Blue Wave. We're going to look at a new poll from Fox News, of all people, that shows Kamala Harris is very much so in the hunt in the state of Georgia, and Donald Trump may not actually end up winning Georgia. And if he doesn't, his path to 270 gets even more and more narrow. And basically what he has to do is break the blue wall if he is to become president of the United States while losing Georgia, while winning all of the other states that he needs to win, including North Carolina, Arizona, and basically it becomes more and more of a tall task for Trump. But before we do that, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with someone who's into politics. It helps YouTube take my channel more seriously, get the word out to more and more people. So first we'll look at this poll here, and then we'll look at the electoral map if Donald Trump is to lose Georgia. So Fox News here, Fox News poll, Harris is ahead of Trump by 3 points in Georgia. In a head-to-head matchup, Vice President Harris tops former President Trump by 3 percentage points in a Fox News survey of Georgia voters. Harris receives 51% support to Trump's 48 among both registered and likely voters. While her advantage may be narrow inside the margin of error, it is steady. Last month, she was up 50 to 48 among registered voters. So look at this little chart here. In January of this year, Donald Trump had 51% compared to Biden-Harris's 43. April, 51 to 45. We all know that Biden drops out of the race in late July. And ever since then, the Democrats' election chances really across the board in the United States of America have been increasing and increasing ever since then, leading us to today, where this Fox News poll says that Kamala Harris has a 51% of the vote in Georgia to Donald Trump's 48% of the vote in Georgia. Now, we know that Georgia is a state that Joe Biden won in 2020 after Donald Trump was able to win it in 2016. And it's a state that has become much, much more of a swing state and much more competitive. And we know that Raphael Warnock's winning of the special election after the election in 2020, but before January 6th, would go on to have major, major implications for the control of the United States Senate, and had major implications on legislation that was passed by the Senate as a result. So we'll go over here to 270 to win. And if you guys watched my electoral map video, you'll know that this is kind of my map right here, how I had it. I have Kamala Harris winning the election with 276 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 262. I feel this map may be a little bit generous to the Republicans, but nonetheless, I have Donald Trump winning Arizona, winning North Carolina, and winning Georgia on this map. But ultimately, Harris goes on to win the election by holding on to the blue wall of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now, let's say that this poll's prediction comes to pass. Kamala Harris narrowly wins in the state of Georgia. Well, now if you're Donald Trump, you have to go through somewhere else to win these votes back. 16 is Georgia has quite a bit of electoral votes. 16. Nevada over here could end up being a state that is more consequential for one side or the other based on how Georgia goes. But I don't see Donald Trump picking up enough support in Nevada based on his very low popularity with the Latino vote. I think that Harris's increased popularity with the Latino population is going to propel her to victory in Nevada. Um, where else do you go pick up any votes if you're Donald Trump on the west of the country here? Um, I'm not particularly sure. Um, so it leads to Georgia here being very, very consequential in that you're not going to pick up the votes if you're on the west side of you're looking at the west side of the country here if you're Donald Trump. So okay, you lose Georgia, you lose Nevada. Where do you have to go here? Okay, let's see. Even if Donald Trump is to, let's say, pull a rabbit out of his hat and take back Pennsylvania, a state of blue collar voters who very much so value uh, manufacturing policy and jobs staying here in this country, things that we know Donald Trump did not do very well in his administration. And we know that manufacturing went down and that Trump was bad for manufacturing because of all the tariffs that he put on trade. And you look at the election of John Fetterman and the terrible campaign, the terrible selection that Donald Trump had of choosing Dr. Oz to run against John Fetterman. And, you know, even if he is to pull a rabbit out of his hat and win the state of Pennsylvania, which I think this is the least likely scenario, the Democrats still win it 273 to 265. Now, this result is much closer to too close for comfort if you are a Democrat. So you have to go through the blue wall. You have to do it if you're Donald Trump. I think that Pennsylvania is likely going to be won by the Democrats handily. It's probably going to be not as close as Georgia. So it basically boils down to the states of Wisconsin and Michigan, where if you're going to lose Georgia, if you're going to lose Pennsylvania, you now have to win Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona and North Carolina if you are to lose Georgia. Now you can do it with another combination here. If you were to be Donald Trump and you are to win Pennsylvania and win Michigan, win Wisconsin, that puts you over the edge. If you are to win Michigan and Pennsylvania, that'll also do it for you here if you're the Republicans. But really, this blue wall is going to be very, very difficult to break if you're Donald Trump. And it's basically because he hasn't been able to center in and nail in on a economic message that resonates with the American people. And in fact, there's another poll that came out recently that shows that the Americans now trust Kamala Harris by a very small margin on the economy. And, you know, in an election cycle where in 2022 you had tons and tons of things stacked up against you if you're the Democratic Party, and there was predictions of a red wave based on people's reaction to the Ukraine war, people's reaction to all-time highs of inflation since 1982. And you had a lot of things that were going against you and going for you if you're the Republicans, but ultimately it was squandered away by Donald Trump's lack of ability to stump in an effective way, to stump in a way that attracts voters to your message and spreads your message to more and more groups of people and more voters. The path has narrowed for you if you are Donald Trump, if you are the Republicans. Donald Trump is not this unknown commodity that he was in 2016. He's not the outsider versus the establishment candidate anymore. That was a huge benefit that he had against Hillary Clinton, is that people were upset with the status quo. People wanted something new. People were sick of the pageantry and these families in our country that are perpetually in power and perpetually uh, handing power from one generation to another to another. Um, Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is stands against that in any sort of way, because now the Republicans in this country are just itching for Ivanka to run or whatever, um, and someone else in the Trump family will ultimately probably take the reins of MAGA after Trump is kind of, continues to fade into irrelevancy after he loses this election. But ultimately, that's how people perceived the race in 2016. Hillary Clinton was perceived as the insider, the politician who is part of the status quo, and Donald Trump was against that. And that was a huge help to him ultimately winning in some of these uh, blue collar states like Wisconsin, like Pennsylvania. People were willing to try it out, right? People that were shafted, felt left out by Obama, and felt disappointed that he didn't do enough in their eyes, were willing to give Trump a chance. And he didn't do anything for the American people in his 4 years in office. He didn't pass any major legislation that helped anybody. In fact, the legislation he did pass, 82% of the benefits of his tax bill went to the 1% richest people in this country. And, we sat back and waited and hoped and gave Donald Trump a shot to do anything any different than politicians have in the past. A lot of people did, and I don't think they got what they were hoping for. I don't think that they got very much to be excited about another Donald Trump administration. And lo and behold, what happened in 2020? The American people resoundingly voted out Donald Trump out of office, um, against a candidate in Joe Biden that was not running a particularly very exciting campaign, or not particularly, um, it was obviously a very different time for campaigning back in 2020 in the days of COVID, but Biden was not necessarily the strongest candidate that the left had, and he still won. He still won by quite a bit of votes. And it's mainly because of Trump's inability to kind of cash in on any of his empty promises that he made to the American people while campaigning in 2016. And if you look at everything that's happened since that election in 2020, where Biden was elected, you look at the lies that he told over and over and over again about the results of the election that led to the mayhem and chaos and the Confederate flag being flown inside the Capitol on January 6th, when a mob of supporters that he riled up with his lies on a speech that very day and told them to go and raise hell at the Capitol, and raise hell they did. Ultimately, police officers ended up losing their lives as a result of Trump's actions on that day. And unfortunately, Ashley Babbitt did lost her life as well. Rest in peace, Ashley Babbitt. Um, you look at all that. You look at Donald Trump's legal misfortune, and all these cases that have come down on him. Federal cases, state cases, being found liable for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll in a New York dressing room in 1994. Where are you going? Where are you picking up support if you're Trump? Who is out there that doesn't already have their mind made up about how they feel about Donald Trump and whether or not they want him back in the White House? Very, very, very few people out there. Maybe a few dozen or so in the United States, but ultimately Trump has made himself a known brand in this country. People have made their decision about where they align on his politics, and it's made it where Donald Trump's path to electoral victory is slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, um, as we're getting closer to election day. And it's the result of the mayhem and chaos and disarray and lack of leadership and lack of helping anybody in this country and lack of being a good person that Donald Trump has displayed to this country ever since he was elected in 2016. Um, it's catching up. It's catching up to him, and uh, it's time to pay. It's time to pay his bills. And I think the American people are gonna tell Donald Trump one more time, once and for all, you're fired, sir. That's all I got for you guys in this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with someone who's into politics, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.